What is up, entrepreneurs? You are tuned into the Non-Corporate Network. You are watching Entreprenews, the show where Dustin and I debate the top 6 trending small business headlines. We box it out. Usually we don't make it 10 rounds. We only make it 6 rounds. And I usually get the belt. I'm super fired up to continue that trend. Dustin, anything you want to add to that glorious intro?
Just once again living in Chaz fantasy land, which is okay. That's cool. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Non-Corporate Network. A little bit about Non-Corporate Network. We're just a group of entrepreneurs that are trying to create a channel to bring content from entrepreneurs to other entrepreneurs. And so, yeah, I appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and we're excited to get into the stories. Are you ready to get this party started?
Let's go. Let's dance.
Okay. First story. Everybody's talking about an AI tool that does absolutely everything. This is a tool backed by Elon Musk. Big surprise here. The AI is called GPT-3. It is a new AI language model, and essentially it has the ability to write news. It has the ability to analyze content. It has the ability to compose music. It can't quite get a software engineering job. It can't meet that criteria quite yet, but as I mentioned, does a lot of interesting things. So my question to you, Dustin, is what is the estimated percent job loss in the next 5 years with AI like this coming more into the fold, being backed like people like Elon Musk? It seems like at this point it's an inevitable trend.
Yeah, well, it sounds like R2D2's cousin. I mean, it's look,
Yeah,
you got the glass is half empty or half full. You can be half
right.
empty and try and figure out how many jobs it's going to lose, but it's also we don't know how many jobs it's going to create. And I mean, I'm going to continue to run down that road because it's true. I mean, just everything that we're doing now, there's so many jobs that have been created through digital transformation that we couldn't even think of before digital transformation happened. And so there are going to be people that do lose their jobs, and that's unfortunate. But I mean, there's plenty of training. There's plenty of different ways to grow your skill set to make you employable as this is happening. I mean, the writing's on the wall. People can all see it happening. Everyone's joking about it. It's take action and don't be one of the people where your job is put in jeopardy. I mean, what we're doing, our job is in jeopardy. I mean, managing ads and producing content. I mean, but none of it scares me. It's more of an opportunity. It's how can we leverage this to do better to help other brands tell their story and stuff. And so I'm a half
Yeah.
glass full type of guy.
Well, I think that I used to think about AI as something that was really just going to phase out anything that required precision and repetition. I've said it on this show. I think if there is anything that it requires those two things, that AI robotics can phase out people in those lines of work. But here, my point is not necessarily debunked, but it's showing that we're already past that. Writing a blog post for a news publication or composing music, that isn't a repetition and precision type of process. That involves some finesse. And so I look at this and go, okay, that's great. You can have your opportunity, Dustin, and leverage the technology. But, what things are protected? What things are we just going to be the operator that just presses the pay button and just buys all the AI that does the whole business, and you sit back and don't do anything anymore? Like, what is protected? I used to think it was creative. I used to think it was maybe content production, things like that. But it seems like even AI is going to be able to, encompass some of those roles.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to tell what's protected. I mean it's the people who were making cars, on the assembly line as the Industrial Revolution happened. It's like what's going to happen to us? But they became
Right.
global, which created more global jobs. There was more opportunities that came. Sure, there were people that lost jobs, but there's something created, and it just comes down to look at the trends and protect yourself through gaining knowledge and educating yourself and making yourself employable.
Fair enough. Getting into our next story, Disney has reportedly paused its spending on Facebook ads. Over 900 businesses, including companies like Starbucks, have come out and actually stopped running ads altogether on Facebook just because of the proliferation of hate speech that they're accusing Facebook of having, not enough content moderation going on in the platform. But this is interesting. Disney is the number one biggest advertiser they had on the first half of 2020, spent almost $250 million on Facebook advertising from just the first half of 2020. And so a company like that that's coming out and going, we are drastically cutting our budget. They haven't said exactly how much has been cut, but the words used by Wall Street Journal are drastically cut ad budget. So, yeah, I mean, is Facebook downplaying the severity, and what new opportunities are coming from this?
Yeah, I mean, it's first to spend $250 million whenever half of the entire half of the year you were shut down. I mean, that's crazy that they spent that much. But that being said, I mean, I'm all about trends, and there are more companies pulling more dollars for an extended period of time, and so you're definitely seeing a trend of it impacting the financials of Facebook. Whether it's at a point where Facebook's gonna care, I don't know. But if the trend keeps happening, I mean, Zuckerberg's going to have to figure something out, because, I mean, that they make all their money. I mean, we heard it in Congress. They make their money through advertising. So
Yeah.
if they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars, I mean, that's going to really impact their cash flow. It's going to impact, how they make a majority of their money. But, I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think, he's going to continue to be stubborn and just brush it off? Or what are your thoughts?
I thought I was going to hear some CPM talk there, Dustin, a little bit. I think that,
Gotta keep you guessing, brother.
as the budgets keep getting pulled, the cost of ads are dropping, which I think is interesting. Zuckerberg has made his fortune off of not listening to what everyone else says and sticking with his gut. And he's a wartime CEO, and he knows that he's made decisive decisions that have paid off for Facebook, whether it be not being acquired by Yahoo and they offered them $1 billion. There's been so many different times where he's made a decision to acquire Instagram for whatever amount of money. It was a crazy amount of money at the time. Now it's an amazing idea that he did. So I think that he's looking at this going, I have this track record of decision making. I'm not worried about it, but I think there's a point in time where it goes from you being in a power position and being decisive to you really need to open your freaking ears, man, because you're losing billions of dollars in revenue and you're not replacing it. The only way they're replacing it is putting more ad products up, whether it's mid-roll video or whatever it is.
That everyone loves.
So it's like, if people are cutting ads, you're not going to make money off of that. It doesn't matter how many ad products you have. So I think that he does need to open his eyes.
Yep. And on final thought there, it's I wonder how many advertisers are going to reallocate those dollars and find better channels to market on and permanently lose some of the Facebook dollars. So create more opportunities for people to test, and through that, people are going to see some efficiencies.
But cheaper ads, baby. It's the opportunity. Okay, into our next story. TikTok halts talks on London HQ amid UK-China tensions. The video sharing app suspends building plans with British ban on Hawaii 5G kit seen as a factor. This is an interesting story. This is threatening the creation of 3,000 jobs out there in the UK. But it seems like they're pretty staunch in blocking this from happening. It's interesting. I mean, in your opinion, Dustin, does TikTok being in London make you feel better about the data issues they've had? And what kind of repercussions are going to come from, this whole headline around 5G being a risk and companies not wanting to, or countries not wanting to work with China?
I mean, China's kind of do it to themselves, I mean, in a way. But I mean, in terms of just the data and everything, it's at what point do we start opening our eyes and saying, hey, they're trying to make a change? I mean, they might have those ties to China, but I think, they're making moves to try and accommodate for people's concerns, such as bringing on Disney Plus's executive as CEO. They're trying to get out of China, so they're trying to do all the things. I mean, they've had a huge uptick in more users on their platform, and so, I mean, it's getting more and more popular. it's with the whole Twitter thing that happened. I mean, there's still some concerns around, China having ties to some of the employees there. So I mean, it's I think everyone just has to kind of tread it lightly. I mean, people's data is, powerful. There's a lot that can be done with it. There's a lot that China can do, but at the same time,
Right.
you got a company that's trying to hear the concerns of why people don't want to use that app, and they're trying to make moves to fix that. And so, I mean, that's what every
Yeah.
company should do.
I mean, I don't know if I would say that they're trying to fix that. I think that they're trying to mold fix the perception. I think that if you really think about it and you look at the executives that they've hired, the grand scheme marketers that they've brought on, fix the perception, but they don't have any kind of power to fix the problem. I mean, if Hawaii and Tencent own TikTok, they're going to make the ultimate decision on how the data is being used. They probably keep half those executives in the dark anyway. And so it's like, I'm sure that, yeah, they need to fix the perception of the product, but I just don't have any faith that the people behind the curtain are ever going to really allow it to be fixed. I look at this more as an oil drill of data that they're taking and plugging into China or plugging into the US, plugging into the UK. I mean, I may have this kind of apocalyptic outlook, but it's unsettling to me.
No, I mean, I agree on that front. It's how much are they trying to fix just to get that perception that they are fixing something. I mean, like I said, you had that whole thing with Twitter. So, I mean, as long as a few employees still have some ties to China or anything like that, they could be bought and essentially collect that data or get the data. And so, I mean, if they're having conversations with different countries on headquarters, I think it all comes down to transparency. But I mean, yeah. I don't think China's done that well on the transparency side, even when we asked for it. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it could have gone one way or the other. It was either going to be like, wow, London, China, UK, this is going to be great with TikTok, or we're banning you from coming here.
Yep.
The latter is not great. Well, before we get into the next story, I want to mention we are powered by State 48, apparel company. They are amazing. They do some really great collabs out here, bring some awareness to some amazing causes. Anything you want to mention about State 48?
Yeah, I mean, it's super comfortable clothing for all. I mean, inspired by Arizona. They do a lot of stuff with Diamondbacks, the Cardinals. Just doing a lot of good. Check them out, state48.com. So as we head into our next story, a company called Instapay has come out, and they're partnering with Amazon sellers to essentially give them cash the same day or next day for their transactions. Sellers will get about 50 to 80% of their net sales minus shipping and Amazon fees. And they're doing this all at a 1 to 2% cost. And so it's going to cost you 1 to 2% of whatever those sales are to get this cash flow. Typically, Amazon sellers get paid out every 14 days. I mean, just like a real big boy job every 2 weeks. My thing is we talked about Dan Bilzerian blowing through cash, talked about, the importance of having financial knowledge. I mean, cash flow is important, but if you can't manage a business without having instant cash right now, I mean, is this a healthy product? Is there, I think people are going to love it because everyone wants instant gratification and they're going to want their cash instantly. But I don't know. Do you think this is good for business? Do you think this is bad? I mean, what are your thoughts on just this new product?
Give people their money, Dustin. Come on, man. You're being stingy. I got a couple of stats to throw at you. Over 42% of Amazon stores make less than a 15% margin. Also, these people that use FBA are losing between 15 and 18% margin by having the shipping and warehousing fulfilled by Amazon. And while it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, you don't have to worry about it. Again, we're really chopping down the margins. And so it makes it hard to keep up with cash flow when you're not super profitable. Maybe if you're doing volume, but you're only making $10 a sale, you could really use that money to reinvest back into advertising to help grow your business. And if it's only coming every 2 weeks, maybe that's just keeping the lights on. So, I mean, I see the benefit in doing this. It makes you have to nickel and dime it a little bit more. I mean, you got credit card transaction fees, you got everything else. You're not going to be making a crazy amount of money. The majority of people aren't going to make a crazy amount of money. but yeah, I mean, I think it's something that could be beneficial if you're in in need of cash and you're making sales.
Yeah, no, I love it. We can all agree that the margins are horrible, so let's just add on something else to cut down those margins and make even less. Let's keep working harder for less. I love it, Chaz, for the people. And to me, I mean, if you're operating in a two week lookout, I mean that's not, you know, sustainable or going to help for the long term. I mean, got
Right.
to have some vision, and you know, if you need, I think at the 1 to 2%, if you're really needing that cash flow on a day-to-day basis, maybe invest into someone that can help with budgeting, someone that can help with forecasting, sales, where to properly spend that dollar or those dollars. Because I mean, 1 to 2% of your overall sales, that's a pretty hefty price. And so I hear you on the need for cash flow. I mean, cash flow is the soul of every business, but I mean, at 1 to 2%
Hey,
expense, that's a
how much percent are you paying on a credit card? More than 1 to 2%.
yeah. On top of, yeah, so you got to pay the transaction fee, so you're already getting money taken out of there, and then what you do get from it, and that gets cut 1 to 2%. Just keep chopping small businesses at the knees, Chaz. I
Hey,
love it.
let's keep funding Bank of America and Wells Fargo at 24% APRs.
Speaking of Bank of America and big businesses, on to our next story. The S&P turns positive for 2020. We had the huge downfall right when the coronavirus hit. Although the story isn't all there, you got most companies that are actually negative. And so really right now it's for every one company that's positive, you have 1.7 that are negative. So you have more negative companies than positive. More so, the top 5 companies, I mean, the FANG stocks, so you got Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet, and Amazon. So I mean, you got 1%, maybe 1% of the total S&P 500 actually make up 23% of the overall market share. I mean, are these goods? Is the stock market looking good? I mean, are we getting to the point where there's only going to be a couple companies alive? I mean, sure, the stock market looks good and it's up, but if only 1% of the companies are benefiting from
Right.
that, is that good long term?
I mean, you know my stance on this. If you listen to the podcast, you know my stance on this. I look at this and I think, we're going to continue to create this huge wealth gap where we continue to drive the prices down from a corporate level, continue to push out the small businesses. All of these bigger businesses are firing people. I mean, looking back at the story of the AI C3PO's brother, you know, they fired over 80 people at MSN and have an AI doing all their jobs now. And so these big companies are showing that we're gonna get rid of people and continue to grow, and we're also going to put a bunch of small businesses out of business. And so where does that leave us? This is not a barometer of how well the economy is doing. This is not a barometer of how well the American people are doing. The S&P 500, sure, it's going to be up. Top 5 companies that are in technology and home tech, personal device tech, of course they're going to be capitalizing off of this, but nobody else seems to be doing that past the top 500 companies. So this is just not indicative of the state of the country or the world, and it fires me up that we're not doing more to kind of mitigate the risks here of this kind of wealth gap we're creating.
Love when you get fired up, Chaz. Love it. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's it's tough whenever you see companies making more money and laying more people off through technology. I mean, I think it gets us a step closer towards basic income or whatever that may be, where we tax companies that are
Yeah.
leveraging technology, which it just makes for a weird world in
Pay
my
people
eyes.
for their data that you're stealing and not telling us about. That's all I want. I don't care about, like, maybe if you just gave some of that money back to the people whose data you're stealing, then it would make everybody a little bit happier. Maybe not the corporate like juggernauts that are obsessed with profitability, but it you know be a little bit better of a system.
Yep. So going on to our final story. So Best Buy sales get online boost. I mean, their sales are up overall. And Walmart is also mentioning they're going to be paying employees a bit more. So overall, quarter to date, sales are up 2.5% online. Overall sales are up 15%. They've almost opened up all their stores and brought back about half of the 55,000 full-time employees that they had. So, I mean, they've only brought back half, but almost all jobs are opened up. Another thing that they've mentioned is that they're going to raise the people's pay by about 4% and give people bonuses. And Walmart's also saying that they're going to give out about $450 million in bonuses through the rest of the year. And so, I mean, we've had CEOs saying they're optimistic, small business owners saying they're optimistic. You got companies that are starting to pay bonuses and all that, yet we still have how many millions of unemployed? I mean, what are your thoughts? What's going on? I mean, how are sales up on some of these companies, yet they're only bringing back half of what they had and then paying the half that's coming back more? Are we creating more of an inequality gap? I mean, what are your thoughts on all these stats?
Phase change in business. Yeah, no, I mean, if you're going to continue to push the e-commerce side, then you don't need as many people on the floor selling, especially with the reduced amount of foot traffic. I mean, anything's better than the system they had running a couple months ago where it was like you had to schedule an appointment with a salesperson to get into the store, and you had to stand outside for a while, and then like you'd be walking around with somebody that works there. But it's just like, bottom line is they just don't need as many people on the floor. If they're pushing more people to use the e-commerce stuff, I think they're going to continue to just train people into looking at, I mean, the same way I've seen it happen in the airline industry. You have to pay more for your ticket if you buy it over the phone. If you have to call them and talk to their customer service, they mark up the ticket because of that. And so I think the same thing is going to start happening in retail in places like Best Buy, where it's like, there's no freaking reason for you to come in here other than maybe to preview it and see it. But it's just like, let's train them to order it online to the point where they just don't have to come in anymore. But, there's going to be more people in the warehouse packing orders than there are going to be out on the sales floor talking to customers just with everything that's happened. So it doesn't surprise me. But looking at it and going, you got all the stores open and half the employees back, I think that's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's with sales going up and stuff. I mean, there's going to be a huge influx in opportunities or job opportunities on the logistics side of things. I mean, you got Amazon's going to have drones. You got more cars out there. I mean, in terms of getting people their stuff quicker, you're going to have to improve technology, how things communicate together. So, I mean, going back to, you got job loss, but the way things are going, it's going to create more jobs somewhere else. And so, the alternative is half of those people that don't have their jobs. I mean, they got Instapay now on Amazon, become an Amazon seller. I mean, you can get paid every day quicker than Best Buy anyway. So,
well, there's a lot of stores in retail now that are just like showrooms. You can't even buy anything in there. I went into a store at Scottsdale Quarter like a couple months ago, and it was like, oh yeah, you can look at the stuff, but you have to buy it online. And I think that's kind of where retail is going until it's just completely phased out, probably over the next 10 years. So, we'll see if that happens or not. But I'm on record saying it. But yeah, no, these are interesting today. I enjoyed them. I think that the big thing here for me is the Disney. I mean, that's the biggest advertiser on Facebook's platform. The fact they've pulled most of their $250 million ad budget, that tells me that something needs to happen. Facebook needs to run an ad campaign that's like showing their content moderation has been beefed up or something. They can't keep going the way they're going and expect to hit the numbers and do well.
Yep, and hearing that, I think we need to look at our budget allocation to Facebook and maybe increase it now that it's getting cheaper to reach people. Let's take advantage of it now, baby. No, my thing is the AI. I mean, I am fascinated about AI, and I know everyone has the doom and gloom, but I really think that going to have a huge boom in opportunities that we don't even know about. And so I know you're the glass is half empty kind of guy, but I can't wait to see AI just kind of play out.
I wouldn't say I'm the glass is half empty kind of guy. I mean, when it comes to AI, I'd like to be more optimistic of people that aren't just entrepreneurs. Like my entrepreneurs out there, I'm very optimistic that you're going to be able to harness this and make it happen. But how many people out of our entire society can truly be entrepreneurs? I think we need to, help raise those people up because, it's coming. The gig economy is coming, and you better figure it out. And the more that we can help people to start getting into entrepreneurship now, I think the better off we're going to be as a country. So, again, thank you, entrepreneurs out there that are watching this. You're tuned in to a non-corporate network. Again, this is Entreprenews. My name's Chaz Vandemotter.
I'm Dustin Trout.
We are stoked to have you with us, and we will see you again on Friday. We'll be talking some more hard-hitting stories. I'll be defeating Dustin again. It's kind of like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner is kind of the way it seems like.
Yeah, I know. It seems like the more I just kind of push those buttons, the more you get irritated. And I'm just cool as a cucumber over here, just listening to your perspective. But we'll be back Friday to push more buttons.
Oh, we'll see about that. All right. Well, thank you guys for being with us. We'll see you next time. Have a good day. Peace.
Have a good